Well, this Tuesday we're looking at Karyn's kitchen. It's Glenna's kitchen.
It's actually my mom's kitchen.
But you built it.
Yes, it was in honor of my mother's kitchen, the one I remember best.
So this is kind of fun, building something from photographs and from memory from your childhood.
Right.
Your mom's kitchen.
Right. Like most people, I think the childhood kitchen that you remember, your mother's kitchen, most everybody has fond memories of being in the kitchen. So we always had a lot of family discussions around this very table, and of course phone calls and other family events like birthdays and other family get-togethers.
So is that you?
That is me. That is my 15th birthday, and that doll I'm holding, my mother made that. And this is my sister's birthday. Of course, you can see the presents and the cake when she turned 9 years old. And of course, the infamous birthday cake. I think there was a lot of cakes baked in that kitchen. And here, this happened to be the defining point in my life, my high school graduation. So naturally, when I started building this, it actually started with the window. I had some frames left over from a previous wooden model that I had made, and I started looking at those pieces and thinking, man, that looks just like the windows in our house. So I started the model around the window, actually. But I wanted to make it look like a photograph of our kitchen, and it's not very deep in, maybe about 2 inches deep in. But in order for it to be three-dimensional, I had to do what is called a forced perspective. So what I was aiming for was to make it sort of like a shadow box, a 3D picture, if you will, that you can hang on a wall. So I decided to make the mountain so you could see some scenery outside. I actually went to Google Earth and grabbed some photos of the neighborhood that I grew up in and the mountain scenes. So that way the light shines through the printer paper and where it's framed, and it looks like a vista out the window. So when you're doing something to force perspective, you really have to do your angles and lines. And so doing a shadow box, you have to cut everything on some kind of an angle that would normally be kind of strange looking from an above shot vista of it. As you can see, the table is cut into a trapezoid shape. So when it's viewed from the front of the box, it doesn't look so much like a trapezoid, but just a rectangular table with a vanishing point. Now, my mom always kept some kind of a rug at the kitchen door. And as you can see here, no, you're not seeing things, and do not adjust your screen. But I had to create something that looked sort of like a rhombus in order for it to, again, have a vanishing point and look rectangular when viewed from the front. So in this picture here, you can see the difference where one just looks like a picture. It looks rectangular, but at a distance, staring straight down at it, not so much. So this is the view that you will see once it's hanging on the wall as a picture.
You know, this is just like those guys with the chalk art do.
Exactly.
The same idea where they do a forced perspective and then just draw that on the pavement.
Right. And here, of course, we have the handy dandy kitchen organizer. It had a chalkboard and a place to keep letters and pens. And of course, my dad kept the car keys hanging there. And the thermostat to our Stoker-matic. And because it was the 70s, of course, everybody was making macrame hanging plant holders. And my mother had one in the kitchen window with an infamous plant, a fern, we called Draculove. Now this plant was really interesting because it was possessed, I swear. It would get into people's hair, and it would thread its way into things. You'd get anywhere near it, would reach out and try to grab you. And my dad could even hold his hand underneath the fronds, and the thing would move. And we called it Dracula because of its feisty behavior. But my little brother at the time wasn't speaking too well. He was just a baby, and he couldn't say Dracula, so he called it Draculove, and it stuck. And this here, folks, is called a landline. Our telephone was in the kitchen. And as you can see, I had a shorter cord on it because my folks felt like they needed to know what and whom we were on the phone with. So we had to sit right at the table to be on the phone. And there were a lot of birthdays and celebrations held at this table, and I can just always remember a freshly baked cake ready to eat. So the birthday cake is made out of what they call Sculpy Clay. It's a clay that you mold and shape any way you want it, and then bake it in the oven on a low temperature for about 5 minutes. And the sprinkles on top are just some little beads that I had just cut up with an X-Acto knife. So So there's the finished kitchen right there as I remember it. As I say, a lot of memories were made in this kitchen. And unfortunately, it doesn't exist anymore in any way, shape, or form. But it's a nice little picture, shadow box that pays tribute to the kitchen that was my mom's pride and joy.